I'm IMTIAZ POPAT.
And I'm GUANRGIE. Welcome to Access Television.
This is the month of March, and in this show we're going to be talking about marching for different causes, about film, and about politics.
Well, you know, I have my walking boots on, right, IMTIAZ? I'll be there with you 100%, but I'd also like to talk about the downtown east side fence. Like, have you heard about the big sweep? And plus, David Ng from Theatre in the Living, also known as Headline Theatre, is in the house, and we'll be talking forum theatre.
What does reconciliation mean?
When I think of reconciliation, relationship that it represents.
The healing journey is not going to stop with the end of the TRC.
Reconciliation does not just involve Indigenous people of this country.
I think that we can start to change things today.
What does reconciliation mean?
Well, welcome to Hot Topics on Access Television. We have a full house here with my co-host, IMTIAZ, and we also have Michelle FORTIN, tomato.
Exactly.
And you were the witness for the Washington Women's March that happened just recently. And David Ng from Theatre in the Living, here to talk about forum theatre. It's going to be awesome. We'll start off with you, David. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
So you're the outreach coordinator of Theatre for Living. Tell us more about your role.
Yeah, so my role is essentially to build relationships with the community. All of our work comes from the ground. And so we put a lot of focus into the relationships and the collaborations that we do in the community.
And you were also there to audition the workshop participants who helped to sort of basically build the foundations for the performance of Home, which is coming up. There's a native name for that. Can you share that with our audience members?
Yeah, so our 2017 production that's in collaboration with Journeys Around the Circle Society is called Shwa'amet, which is a Hunkaminam word for home. And so as you mentioned, we received over 150 applications for the project from people from very diverse backgrounds. And so 15 workshop participants, 7 cast, have come together to create this play about reconciliation.
And you also have an awesome production crew as well. I think what the best thing about Home for me is that it has a multicultural perspective speaking to the issues in and around reconciliation. And also it's forum theater. So you talked about the workshop participants. I noticed that there were participants who came from varied backgrounds, like religious and spiritual, some not so spiritual, some were adopted, some were fostered, and others were intergenerational survivors and survivors themselves.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, one of the things we're really excited about is the diversity on many different levels in the workshop and the cast. So we have First Nations and non-First Nations people coming together to create this play about kind of digging deep into this notion of reconciliation and how we can actually make it real and meaningful beyond the nice words and the apologies from the government, the policies. What does reconciliation actually look and feel like on the ground?
Yeah, beyond the tip of the iceberg is where we need to go, and I think that's what the production is bringing home. You have Associate Director Renai Morriso, who's also from My Girls, and then of course David Diamond, Sam Bob, and lovely Melanie Turbasket.
Madeline Turbasket.
Madeline, there you go.
And as well as Asavat Kustachin, who some people might know from APTN's show Aska Boys. And Tom Schulte, who's actually a theater professor at UBC. And as you mentioned, yes, Reverend Meg Roberts, who's a Unitarian minister.
Interesting mixed bag of people.
And also Naden Palasari. Sorry, I totally forgot.
So you got people from the Asian community, as well as there's another lady who's a graffiti artist who is participant.
Yeah.
What's her name? Jen?
Yes, and also another cast member is Mutia Makatumpag. And yeah, that was one of our interests in our recruitment as well. Was
I know
also,
her.
Yeah, was to break the binary of just the issue of reconciliation just being a white versus First Nations thing. Also wanting to look at what is the role or positionality of people of color who are settlers as well.
And settlers, interesting concepts happening there, and then the audience members are invited to interact with the actors, and they get to give their perspective and practice reconciliation right on the spot. If we want to go to see this, how do we do this quickly?
If you go to our website, theatreforliving.com, or you can email me, outreach@theatreforliving.com.
Thank you, David. It's been a pleasure.
Michelle, you were at the Women's March in Washington. How many people were there?
So I actually had a police officer tell me that there were at least 1.3 million people there. And as a marshal, I watched them all walk by.
Yeah, angry at Donald Trump, obviously, and that's what it was.
You know, I have to say, yes, there were some people that were angry, but more people were excited and jubilant and joyful about being together in the same space and sharing an idea that politicians need to listen and that people actually have power. So it was incredibly empowering. I mean, at 7 in the morning, going out to grab a coffee before the march, people were already kind of skipping down the streets with their placards and posters.
Wow, that's great. And this was part of like a march all over the world at the same time. So people were marching with you while you were marching in Washington.
Absolutely. My father is 85 years old, and he marched in Barra de Navidad with a bunch of expat Canadians and Americans on that day. I was incredibly proud of him.
Right. And you know, with the rise of Trump, it's, you know, women are of course really angry about you know, the sexism, but there's also the rise of racism here in the backyard. The KKK are back leafleting in our backyard, alt-right in Richmond and so on. And we've been organizing a bunch of rallies and marches here in the downtown east side with what happened in Quebec City as well. So March 21st is International Day Against Racism. There's going to be a big march here in Vancouver on March 26th, starting at the Main Street SkyTrain Station, Thornton Park, march through Chinatown, end up at Jackville Plaza, right behind here where the Kamaga tomorrow, right? That's on March the 26th, starting at 1 o'clock, and that's going to be a big event.
Oh, yeah. Great.
Yeah. What else is there?
Well, I don't know, but did you know that in the downtown east side, there's a major sweep going on? They're trying to sweep the fences. I'm spitting all over the place because I'm so excited. But, you know, rather than attacking the street vendors or the people that are selling on the street, on the sidewalk, they're actually going after the fences, which means the people that are buying the goods and reselling them somewhere else. And I think that's really kind of an interesting approach, because back in the 90s, when they were trying to move people along from Seymour to the downtown east side, that's when they began basically targeting the Johns rather than the prostitutes. So it's kind of an interesting approach. It'll be interesting to see how that affects the people. I've seen them myself, arresting the buyers of the goods.
Right.
But they also arrested the street vendors a month or two ago.
In Surrey.
Right? So they've had these little stages.
This has been happening in Surrey too. But you know, we've been covering housing issues here on Access TV.
Yeah.
And so next up is next part of LG Meyer's series on affordable housing. And this is going to Portland, Oregon on Dignity Village.
To our knowledge, we are the only self-supporting, self-governing, city-sanctioned homeless community in the world. I'm Lisa Larson. I'm the CEO of Dignity Village, and I've lived here for about 6 years. We can have up to 60 people here at any given time, and then an additional 10 in our commons for a warming shelter. We sit on about 2 acres of land, just a little less.
So you've got 47 units?
43 units, actually. One that's being redone completely, a couple of them that are in the process of being cleaned. So I think right now we're about 52 people total. And then we have our other buildings. Our guard shack is manned 24 hours a day, and that is definitely a common area. Our computer room sits behind it, and we've got 3 internet-accessible computers. And they're not even just for us here at the village. If somebody is still sleeping outside the gates, They can come in, contact family, use our phone, look for jobs, send out resumes, whatever they need to do out on our computers. We have our common room, which is our meeting room, our family room, our living room, our TV room. It's kind of our partial kitchen. It's got hot plates and microwaves. It's also our warming shelter for the additional 10 people we can hold during the extreme cold. Below 40 degrees and or raining or snowing, ice, then our commons is open. If it's decent weather, then we close it because that's also our living room. Got our showers. Some of us have little heaters that we take in with us, but still that concrete in there is cold. We have to watch how much propane we use. We do limit the shower time to about 10 minutes per person. And we have a small community room for small meetings or if somebody needs to just work on their laptop. So we've got other buildings here too.
I'm noticing that all the buildings here have got a lot of beautiful artwork.
The paintings on this wall was done by an artist that's supposedly depicting the paintings from France that they found a few years back, or probably many years back. Along the side, he painted himself petroglyphs that he remembers from the cave walls in Arizona. That painting over there was done by some taggers. You know, the ones that go out and spray paint illegally. Well, they decided to put their artwork to something good. Now, what he's looking at over there was also done by an artist. The gentleman had been diagnosed with cancer, and he knew he wasn't going to have much longer to live. You can kind of see where his mind was going. He was going to come back the next spring, and we never saw him again. A gentleman had the desire to build a greenhouse in every country of the world. He got a grant for 50 of them, and this is the United States' greenhouse off that grant. The greenhouse was painted on the outside by one of our former villagers. The windows in the greenhouse were painted by the kids who built it. Themed as transitions in life is what the kids were supposed to paint. And like all artwork, some of it I understand and some of it I don't.
And there was a woman here named Brandy. She was a framer for 20 years. And so me and her pretty much built this house, quite a few of the other ones, number 34 over there, the one next to it. We helped build the common room.
The village started back in the year 2000. Downtown, a group of people got together. They were tired of being harassed by the cops, tired of being harassed by other people. City or the state would come in and say, you can't camp here, you've got to move on. Otherwise, you're going to be in jail. So they'd all load up and move to the next bridge. And we have several bridges here in Portland. They had shopping cart parades. And through that time, ended up with supporters, some big-time supporters. And they kept working with the city. And the city picked up a couple sites. And this is the best one, they decided. It was only supposed to be temporary. And we're still deemed as a temporary campground, even though a lot of us would like to see an intentional community. But as of right now, we are deemed as a temporary transitional campground.
Tell us a little bit about your personal story. How did you come here?
Well, I'd been in a marriage for about 17 years that progressively got more and more abusive. I then moved in with a guy who I thought was my best friend who was going to protect me, and instead he tried to kill me about 5 different times in about 7 years that I was with him, including taking a double-barreled shotgun to my head and pulling the trigger. And how I ended up homeless was Christmas Eve one year, about 8 years ago. I left, had met the love of my life now, and then my husband put himself homeless so I wouldn't be out on the streets by myself. And we spent about 2 years out on the streets, 1 year sleeping in abandoned houses, and got arrested out of numerous times. The next year we did some camping in some little parks type settings just out of the city limits, and eventually got ran out of there. It took us about 6 weeks to get in, and we've been here for 6 years. And it's changed our life. There is a true sense of community here, but there's times we don't like each other. There's times we fight, we bicker, we scream and yell. But when it all comes down to it, people care. The husband and I had a fire in our structure. But before the firemen left, we had a place to sleep, we had pillows, we had blankets, we had clothes, we had food, and half the people were out looking for our cat that was in the fire at the time. People truly cared. It's been almost 3 years now since it happened. It still gives me goosebumps that the village actually stepped in and took care of us. I'm thinking about doing one of these down at our end of the village too. But it's a little cat area, and then they can use this to go do their business and play. We are one of the unique organizations that do allow you to have your pets here. I believe we have about 25 cats right now, give or take, and we're at our maximum of dogs, and that's 10.
The location that the city's chosen, it's right by the end of the airport. You've got the works yard on here on the other side. You've got the prison over here. Is that very much of a disturbance, or do you get used to it?
The airport, I don't have a problem with. Where Scott and I were camping, we were staying right next to a railroad track, and that was even noisier. So the planes, I find them exhilarating, and especially when the jets take off, the fighter jets, they're really cool to watch. The prison next door, excessively quiet neighbors, no problems with them. I think in the 15 years we've been here, I think there's been 2 escapes, and one of them came and asked a villager to have a cigarette, and they caught him. Our moving company next door, they're fairly quiet other than big trucks coming by. Across the street is a college track and field type practice field. That gets a little busy, but it's a nice green spot for us to look at least. My biggest complaint is the compost pile back behind us. If you did not have a breathing problem before you got to the village, you do about 6 months into it. At one point I was on 2 inhalers because of it. And then the smell is atrocious when they're turning it. But today, the wind's blowing the other way, so we don't have to deal with that. And they're fairly quiet. And our one other neighbor, which is actually a house, an older couple lives in it, and they're proud to be our neighbors. Most people say, they don't want the homeless in their backyard. Well, these people would take 100 more of us here if we could. So they like us, and we like them. We're out in the middle of nowhere. We do have a bus system out here, so at least we can get downtown. To get into the village, you would come in to meet with our VIC, which is Village Intake Committee. 2 requirements is you must be over the age of 18 and you must be homeless. Now, once you get into the village, we have rules, of course, and we have 5 basic. Number 1 is no violence to yourself or others. Number 2, no theft. Both of those will get you kicked out of the gates really quick, and there is no returning. Number 3 is no drugs or alcohol here or within a block radius. Now, since we're all adults, that doesn't mean that we couldn't go out and partake in a couple beers and then come home, but we have to go straight to our structure. We're not allowed to be intoxicated out on the tarmac. Number 4, no constant disruptive behavior. People screaming and fighting up and down the tarmac just does not work very well. And then number 5, we all must contribute to the operation and maintenance of the village. We do that by 2 ways. 1, we have to do hours around here. We call them contribution hours, and we are all required to do 10 hours a week. Number 2 is paying our $35 a month.
Now, I see you've got a wood pile over here, and I know that there's been various things that Dignity Village has done to make money to support the village.
We make our own money and pay all of our own bills except for the land that we're on, which is city land, and that's on a $0 lease. Everything else we pay for. And we do that by some of our micro businesses, which our wood pile has been a huge micro business for us. We get free wood off of Craigslist. Some tree fell over in the city. Metro brings it out to us. So we get wood from all sorts of places. And we split it, stack it, season it, and turn around and sell it. And we'll sell it by the stick up to a couple cords if we have it here available. And that's been a huge moneymaker. When we get large donations in, if it's a big money ticket item, we will put it on Craigslist or eBay. And sometimes we even have like yard sales here. We also have our metal recycling. It makes a couple hundred maybe a month. The cow is one of the cows for kids. Portland did a money raiser, and the cows or the kids that were in jeopardy of maybe fires or abusive situations, the money was being raised for that. But one of our big time supporters found out we wanted the cow. He bid for the cow. He won the cow. He donated the cow to us. He also challenged the auctioneer place to match the same amount of money and donate it to us also. So we got either the $7,500 from him or the $1,750, and then matched by the Cows for Kid organization, and we got the cow too. So we call it the cash cow. But how we actually pay for most of our own bills is we all have to pay $35 a month.
How much does it cost to run the place per month?
I'm thinking about $2,500 a month. Our garbage is about $400. Our portalets are about $400 a month. Our phone, Wi-Fi, and all that, I think it's running about $200. Our insurance, of course, is like a couple grand for the whole year, so we have to divide that down. Our water bill has skyrocketed this last year. The city has imposed a tax, so our water bill right now is running, I think, about $600 a month. It was about $600 to $800 every 3 months, so it's gone way up. A few of us have solar. Most people run off of car batteries and inverters. We charge them up here at the power pole and then take them home, and that's how a lot of people have power. Solar does not work very well this time of year. Most of us buy our foods with our food stamps and cook individually. You can't really go hungry here. If you do go hungry, it's because you haven't opened up your mouth and asked. Because if somebody's got food, they're going to feed you. And we also get a good-sized food donation, canned foods, frequently. So you can always ask our donation coordinator for food. Yeah, the mandala was originally done by the Village Building Convergence. It's supposed to bring us good feelings and sense of community. From what I understand from the old-timers that used to be here, they put us out here to fail, and we haven't. We've been out here now 15 years, and I think we're actually starting to thrive a little bit instead of just surviving.
Hi, I'm Barb Kimiech, and with me in the studio today I have Stan Fryer and his grandson Arun, who is also a film director, and along with his wife and creative partner Anna. Now, Arun and Anna co-produced the documentary Before She's Gone, which won the Audience Choice Award at the recent Vancouver Short Film Festival. The film captures the love story between Stan and his wife Shirley, who was diagnosed with Alzheimer's 17 years ago. So first off, Stan, it's such a great pleasure to have you with us here today. And this film offers a glimpse into your 69-year marriage with Shirley, and at the same time it highlights your journey as her caregiver since her diagnosis. Can you tell me a little bit about how this journey has changed you and your relationship with your wife?
When my wife was first diagnosed, we cried for 2 weeks.
Yes.
And then after that, she accepted the fact that she had Alzheimer's. And of course, that took all the stress out of our lives. We didn't have to hide anything. She would tell people, I have Alzheimer's, and they'd look at her and just be stunned because they experienced other things about Alzheimer's. To me, it's taught me so much about life and love, how much love means in a marriage. If you really can't love your spouse,
yes,
you'll never go through this.
Yes, it's wonderful.
Because I see her almost dying before my eyes.
Well, I know from personal experience that Alzheimer's is a very unpredictable illness, very challenging. It can be very hard on loved ones. So meanwhile, Before She's Gone is filled with such tremendous tenderness and hope. And you make it seem so easy, quite frankly. Can you share with me and with us what has been most difficult for you personally in facing her illness, and how did you find your way through this challenge? It sounds like love is part of it.
I found it very difficult at first to go through this. As a matter of fact, I'd never let my wife know that I was upset with her. I'd always go down to the bedroom and rant and rave and get it all out of my system, and then come up and smile at her and be the nice husband I was supposed to be. And what I learned was to stop doing that, to accept her just the way she was.
So somehow it was your something
My
about
own
your
attitude.
Well, and actually Arun and Anna have spoken to me about your amazing positive attitude, and and again in the movie, the film really that your attitude comes across so clearly. Just your optimism, your love, the warmth you have for your wife and for the situation. So do you have any advice for caregivers who are going through something similar with their partners or loved ones?
I think the most important thing is to learn to love. You really, people would ask me at various times, how could you be so patient? And I'd say, I don't have any patience at all. I'm the worst person. But love is patient. Love is kind. Love is gentle. And so I think I learned through love to be this kind of a person.
Lovely.
While she was going through it.
Lovely. So Anna and Arun, you're a new couple, and what a wonderful opportunity for both of you to work on this together. It's, I imagine, quite personally meaningful for both of you. So Arun, can you tell me what motivated you to make the film and how your vision for it evolved over time?
Well, originally this started out, I'm a documentary filmmaker, and a few years ago, Stan and Shirley were honored as their Couple of the Year at the Alzheimer's Society of BC in their annual Walk for Memory. And I thought, this is such a great occasion, I have to film this. So we filmed that day, we shot an interview at his house, but I didn't really have any sort of story in mind. I just wanted to capture more of the moment. And so I was struggling with the material because I didn't know quite what to do with it. So I ended up showing the footage to Anna, and she said, oh, this is not a film about Alzheimer's, this is a love story between the two of them. And as soon as she said that, I thought, oh, that's the film that we're going to make. That's the story we're going to focus on, because we didn't want to make a sort of sad or dreary, pessimistic type of film, because I think we're already aware of all the tragedies of Alzheimer's. So what we found here was a nice story of hope, and as he keeps saying, love, and that was really the spine of it, of the story, and that's where Anna came in and helped shape it. And she kept refining it and making sure we kept centering it on the two of them.
Right. Well, Anna, so I want to ask you, you and Arun recently got married, I believe it was quite recent, and you began working on this project together just shortly after you became a new couple. Can you talk a little bit about what this has meant to you and the impact of learning about Stan and Shirley's relationship and how that impacts your sense of relationship and yours with Arun?
I joined for the ride because I thought the story was a beautiful story. But on set, it's when I really realized what we had, how special this was for us as a couple. Because I think that we learned to love one another better. We learned to be patient and kind. And we not always nail it, but we remind each other of that when we are struggling. And we've realized that as Stan has said many times, love is a decision and it's a conscious choice. And it has to happen every day. So for a newly married couple, that is such a gift because it sets the grounds for a wonderful, positive ride together.
Lovely, lovely. And well, it's true, Stan, you, in the movie, you offer such simple yet profound words of wisdom in terms of what love is, what caring is, what a true relationship is. And it seems to me that you show your love for Shirley through your actions. In your opinion, what does a person living with Alzheimer's need most from their partner?
They need to be touched.
Touched?
Physically.
Interesting.
They desire that more than anything else, and I think people are sometimes afraid.
Yes.
I visit my wife every night from 6 to 8, and at first she's a little cold, but then as we sit together, in about 15 minutes, she puts her head here.
And so it's that gift of gift of physical, of just having someone to
and I just
hold
put my arm around her, and she just melts.
Lovely.
It's
lovely.
And that has changed her life.
Well, she's very fortunate to have you in her life, I think, to have all three of you in her life. And it sounds like you're fortunate to have her as well, actually. So I wish you well. Thank you very much for coming. And I would love to chat more. I have lots of more questions. Congratulations on the award and best of luck with the film. And I've been talking today with Arun Fryer and Anna Marie CARRIZALES, producers of the short documentary film Before She's Gone, which tells the story of a 69-year love affair featuring Arun's grandfather, Stan, who's also been with us here in the studio today. I encourage you to check it out on Vimeo. You will be inspired. And next up, stay tuned for Michael Rubin and the BINNER'S Project.
And welcome today. We're here with Michael Leland and Bill Piggott to talk about the BINNER'S Project. So, Michael, what is the BINNER'S Project all about?
Well, we're trying to help some of the guys that have been less fortunate and has ended up binning to make things a little more acceptable and get them back into the workforce. Is the ultimate goal. However, we're also working with the City of Vancouver to meet their 2020 goal of their ecology goal.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how did the BINNER'S Project actually start?
Well, we started three years ago with Ken Leoche. We did the first coffee cup revolution at Victory Square. And it was kind of, we did it to show the waste of coffee cups. And what they did is they paid binners a nickel a piece for picking up coffee cups and bringing them in, and we gave them a refund. And it really helped clean up the city, and we've done it 2 years following since the first one, and it's been really successful. It's a little extra bonus for the binning guys, you know, because you know they're allowed to make. They can bring in 400 at a time, so they make $20, which in the binning world is pretty good.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. At a nickel a cup.
Yeah.
So Bill was one of the more exciting things that you've done.
Last week, Homeless Connect. I sat there telling people about the BINNER'S Project and promoting the BINNER'S hook, which is a hook that goes on the back of people's houses for the homeowners to hang empties and let people know that empties are there. So
yeah. So is that one of the future things for the BINNER'S?
Well, yeah, and it's gone Canada-wide. We're selling the hooks in Montreal and Hamilton, Ontario, Calgary, Alberta, so it's kind of getting our word out that we've got that available.
So does that help the BINNER'S with like I know some of the recycle bins that they're locking and things like that? Does that help out with some
I'll tell you what, and I'll say this in all honesty. I understand the cities need to lock them because there are people out there that aren't responsible. However, it has really kicked into the BINNER'S where you're not available to get into a dumpster. Nothing gets recycled. So what people aren't doing at home is getting into the landfill. So it's it's a cost versus thing. I know that the mess that they've got to deal with in some areas is substantial, and what we're trying to do too is to keep our group, to let them know if there's garbage outside the bin, pick it up and put it in. Not a big deal, and we're trying to be more acceptable in the public's eye that way.
That would be pretty acceptable. Help keep the city looking beautiful.
And I'll tell you what, I would say 90% of our people do that too, and have done that.
So, I'm going to ask each of you this, but we start with Bill. What's some of the biggest pickups that you've done?
Well, yesterday we did one at Science World where they have different events there at Science World and with bartenders and stuff like that, where it was almost $90 a week before. We got 130 out of there. So then I got one of my own account downtown. I get about $20 or $30 from there sometimes. So
well,
so sometimes it builds up.
Yeah, I know, Michael. You have is it a yacht club or something?
Royal Vancouver Yacht Club.
Yeah,
I do that every Monday, and during the summer and the peak months, it's substantial. I'm in the 160, 180 range a day.
Right. So, where do you think the BINNER'S Project is going to go?
I'm really hoping that we're able to grow enough to keep, self-sufficient is what we're trying to do. However, we do have some city funding and stuff like that, which is essential to get up and running. I would really like to see the BINNER'S have that outlet to reach out to somebody that's not going to push them away. And we're saying, come one, come everybody, and we're going to help you out.
Yeah. So, Bill, is it exciting to see new BINNER'S come on board in helping out with the beautification?
Well, yes, it is, because for a lot of the BINNER'S, it's a stigma of not being acceptable and stuff like that, so they have a hard time coming through the door. And and now to see, just in the last 2 months, we have about 7 or 8 new members. So.
Great.
Yeah, public image has been a tough thing right from the get-go, and I mean, a lot of the bad publicity BINNER'S have brought on, to a certain degree. However, the guys that we're working with don't need to be feared. They just want to be left alone and a little bit of respect. We're not trying to push anybody off the sidewalk or take anything that somebody doesn't want, so we're just trying to say we're okay.
Well, it's always the responsible versus those who take advantage of the
Absolutely,
system, right?
and I mean, binning, a lot of the guys, I call the guys that operate in the gray zone that have no problem running on somebody's property, and we stay out of that, to the best of our ability. We take what's put out for us and leave the rest.
Yeah, be respectful to
absolutely,
to everyone, right?
and that's the importance of survival and getting the word out to people that when you guys see a green hat or our logo, that person's just fine. Don't have a worry about them at all.
So, Bill, is there anything else out there that people need to know about BINNER'S in general?
It's just sometimes with security and stuff like that, they come out and it's just that like as Michael said, they see the green insignias and they know that we're responsible.
We've worked hard to keep a good reputation, and this logo has carried a long way, and people are beginning to recognize it as a safe signal. Right? Yeah.
So you guys work hard to protect your logo.
Absolutely, it's paramount to us. It's extremely important that it's looked after.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we wear our colors when we're out there binning, we're wearing them to show people that we're responsible, and we're not only representing ourselves, but we're representing a group.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And it helps for the guys too. It's been really hard when you're alone in an alley for year after year. When you've got a group together that's like-minded and works together, it's made all the difference in the world, and it takes a while to get the guys in to realize that.
Okay.
So,
well, thank you, Bill. Thank you, Michael. And we're going to jump over to IMTIAZ with a Massey Tunnel update.
So this is my friend AMANDEEP Singh, who is running in the new riding of Richmond, Queensborough. It's a brand new riding, Aman.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. Yes. And so, and you're a criminal lawyer.
I am criminal, human rights, civil rights lawyer for the last 18 years.
So why are you running in this new riding for the NDP?
I grew up in Hong Kong, but when I moved from Hong Kong to Canada, I moved to East Richmond, and I lived there for 23 years. And so this is that riding, and for the past decade and a half, I've been seeing a government that's been instilled in for too long become very cynical and arrogant.
Right.
And I think it was high time for me to stop sitting around and doing nothing about it and talking to my friends in my glass bubble and to do something active about it. As you know, I'm an activist from a long time ago. I had become sort of an armchair activist, and I'm getting off my armchair at this point.
That's great. Now, it's largely a South Asian riding. You have a bunch of gurudwaras in the riding, and you have a bunch of masjids as well.
We do.
And recently with the rise of Trump, there's been a rise of racism, especially with the alt-right in Richmond and the KKK in the Fraser Valley. What can the provincial government do? What isn't it doing, and how can it be different in terms of hate crime legislation?
Well, you're absolutely right. There has been a really shocking. We're not immune to the effects of what's happened across the border, right? And that has leaked over. We've seen flyers in places like Richmond, which is ethically incredibly diverse. New Westminster, Abbotsford Mission. And we've seen the rise of anger and hate here as well, and we've seen absolutely no response from the government.
Now, there's a BC hate crime team. What does it do, and what can it do?
So
is it doing anything?
The BC hate crime team, the criminal team, deals with the hate crimes on a sort of a different level, right? When they get to that level like the Quebec Mosque, which hopefully we don't get to that level here. What we need is we need federal and provincial action on the local level. We need more legislation that speaks to hate messages.
Does the BC hate crime legislation, is it strong enough? Does it have enough teeth, or does it need to be overhauled?
The federal hate crime legislation has, for what it's worth, it has teeth. The way it's implemented is not strong enough. It hasn't been looked at in a long time, and I think all of the provincial attorney generals should, at this point, especially with the rise of Islamophobia and the reactions that we're getting within the federal government and within the opposition to this, the rise of what's happened in Quebec, especially in light of that, there needs to be a look at the hate crime legislation. There needs to be a look at the broader issues as well. That legislation is really there to deal with sort of the after effects. It's a punishing regulation, but you need to look at what happens beforehand. You need to nip this in the bud and look at hate speech.
Right.
Right. Yeah. I know it has to be balanced with our freedom of speech and our democratic ideas, but there has to be a way to educate the public and to when there's speech out there, when there's actions out there that are visceral and that do target a community, well, that's necessarily not speech itself. That there is something targeting in that, and that should be dealt with in a more serious way.
And I guess we don't have much time, but the other big issue is the massive bridge to where? I don't know.
In my writing, yes, that is another bridge. So here's a bridge that the premier sort of came up with out of nowhere, not actually out of nowhere, at the behests of the Port of Vancouver and the friends in the big oil and gas industries and the LNG industries. Here's a bridge that may not even be needed. We don't know because there's been no real public consultation. They've consulted with their own stakeholders, but no real public consultation. The previous Minister of Transportation, Kevin Falcon, had proposed twinning the tunnel. There's an option there. We don't know they haven't even looked at any options. When freedom of information searches were done, most of the emails were deleted. So, yeah, the bridge to nowhere. Let's find out more about this, right?
Well, we'll be watching Richmond Queensborough on election night. Aman, thanks for coming. Up next is Patricia Kelly with Food for Thought.
As summer approaches, one option for health is to lighten the diet by eliminating animal products. A vegetarian or vegan diet emphasizes vegetables, fruit, nuts and seeds, beans and peas, and whole grains. I'm joined today by Dr. Thomas Shea and his wife Lily Shea, registered dietitian, to discuss the benefits of a vegetarian diet. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
So my first question is, Lily, what are some of the benefits that you see coming from a vegetarian or vegan diet?
Well, we have three main reasons. The first reason being for health reasons. To avoid health risks in eating animal meals that contain high fat and cholesterol. So instead, we are trying to eat healthy, plant-based diet. Okay. In the animal food, it's possible to have contaminations by swine flu, avian flu, or foot-mouth diseases, and like antibiotics or growth hormones and pesticides and chemicals, okay? And or carcinogens, they might generate from a high heat cooking method, okay? So by eating a plant-based diet with cholesterol-free, low sodium, and low saturated fat with high unsaturated fat, and even high in many kinds of vitamins and minerals that will give us a chance to have better and healthier life.
Okay, so those are some very good reasons then to switch to a plant-based diet.
Right.
I think the main concern people have with vegetarianism is, are we going to get enough protein, complete protein? So how do we go about getting a complete protein?
Well, actually, I have two more reasons that how to get into the why are we going into a plant-based diet? Okay. The second reason being for humanitarian reasons, because to avoid killing animals for meat consumption and to reduce hunger of the poor and the refugees, and also to help nurture our wisdom for kindness and compassion, and for other human beings, and for all the forms of life.
Okay.
Okay. And you have.
Let me add that for economy, we know it takes a lot more energy and resources to do the animal farming for proteins as compared to raise the crop and to get the plant protein. In addition, animal farming will produce a lot of greenhouse gases and promote global warming. And to us, it's not just for our own health, but the health of the earth is very important in the long run. Yes.
Okay, so there are many reasons then to switch to a plant-based diet.
Yes.
How do people get, though, the complete protein if they're not going to eat mostly or any animal foods? How do they get complete protein?
That's a good question. To maintain normal health and body function, people need to get protein from what we eat, right? But at the rate of 0.8 gram to 1 gram of protein per kilogram of body weight, per day. Now, the amount of the protein we get from the food needs to be complete, meaning it should contain 9 essential amino acids from the plants in order to be having enough building blocks for human to make human protein, right? So your question is how to get a complete protein. Actually, there are many plant sources that does have complete protein, and they are complete protein. For example, quinoa. Okay, quinoa is a grain.
Over there.
Over there. Okay. And another grain being amaranth, and soybean, of course, is one of them too, and buckwheat, hemp seeds, and chia seeds. Okay. Now, another way we can go get complete protein is by mixing variety of food. Okay. For example, by mixing grains and legumes, okay, they can complement each other, and the amino acid profile will be better and will become complete protein. We don't have to worry about each meal to have a complete protein matches, okay? If we can get this in a day, it will be good. And for the vegetarians who also take dairy products and eggs or eggs, eggs and dairy products are complete protein themselves.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. We have time for one more question. Thomas, one more concern about nutrients would be how to get enough vitamin B12, because that is really only found in adequate amounts in animal foods. So
it's a very good question. As a matter of fact, that many people suffer deficiency in vitamin B12, and B12 is so important even from the pregnancy time for the baby to have, sound health, So in this case, the food-bound vitamin B12 normally have to go through the stomach for hydrolysis and the free form to bind a so-called a glycoprotein intrinsic factor and then be absorbed at the end of the small intestine. So for whether they are vegetarian or not, if they are concerned about this, they can take the supplements. And there are many kinds of supplements. And these supplements, B12, are only made by bacteria because the animals, the plants, cannot make B12. So to me, taking a supplement is a good approach. And what kind of supplement is the best? The active form For example, this particular one is methylcobalamin. It's a scientific name for vitamin B12. It's a tablet. It's water soluble. Put into in the mouth, under the tongue for a while. It absorbs into the bloodstream directly without having to depend on the GI tract, absorption. So this question is not really for vegetarians. It's for all people and you can do blood tests for vitamin B12 to make sure that we don't have B12 problem. B12 also contribute to the cardiovascular health. So it is not just to prevent the pernicious anemia, things like that.
Thank you very much, Thomas.
You're welcome.
So the two of you have brought a lot of information. If anyone would like to learn more from you, perhaps they could contact you at the ZUG Foundation in Vancouver.
ZUG Foundation, yes.
Okay, and the website I believe is www.zug, that's TZUCHI.ca.
Yes.
In Vancouver. Yes. Thank you very much for sharing your information with us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
And now we go to IMTIAZ POPAT and his guest, KAGAN. Go.
Hi, this is IMTIAZ POPAT here on Access TV, and with me is my good friend KAGAN Go, and we produced a documentary together called Stolen Memories for Omni Television, which is now available on video on demand on Vukavu. Congratulations, KAGAN, it's been a long time.
Yes, thanks, IMTIAZ.
And so you actually have two films on Vukavu right now, which is an independent platform for independent Canadian filmmakers. So let's talk about Stolen Memories first. What is it about?
Stolen Memories is about a photo album which was lost during the Japanese internment by a Japanese-Canadian family. It was found at a garage sale. And essentially I spent 15 years making this film. And it took me 5 years to find the family of the lost photo album and 6 years to convince the family to appear on camera. And in total, the film took me 15 years to complete. And with your help, we managed to produce and complete the film and get it broadcast on Omni.
Right, so people saw it on Omni, but now people can see it on demand, which is great. It's so timely with what's happening in the world today with Islamophobia, and what happened to Japanese is what's happening to the Muslim community today. So people can now go to vukavu.com and watch this film. And it's a great platform for independent Canadian filmmakers that they can actually now see independent Canadian films, which I'm so excited about.
Yeah.
Now you have another film on there, your first film, which is about sex phone lines, and it's called Mine Bleep Bleep.
Yeah, Mine F*K is about a documentary about the phone sex industry. It's one of the first documentaries which was produced, and it won several awards for Best Documentary back in 1996, including the TVO Telefest Award for Best Documentary. Yeah, it's a film that I'm very proud of, and it's very timely, and it's still relevant today.
And it's great that, some of the older films that are made by ourselves, people can now watch on demand with this Vukavu platform. And you can just go there, and there's a list of films, new films all the time, and people can watch that. So that's amazing. And the film I made called Hate Can Kill, it's a short documentary about the murder of a caretaker at a Sikh temple in Surrey by supremacist skinheads, also going to be available on Vukavu soon. I hope by the time this goes to broadcast.
Yeah, congratulations.
Right. So I guess, why is Vukavu important? Why is it important that...
Vukavu is great because, a lot of films that haven't been in circulation for a long time are only available through distributors at a pretty expensive cost, are now available to download online at a fraction of that cost.
Right.
And it's a great way of generating interest in the projects and reviving, giving them a second lease in life, as well as generating revenue for the filmmakers directly.
Right. I often get asked, can I watch your film on YouTube?
Yeah.
And that's kind of difficult because it doesn't pay independent filmmakers to do their work and their craft. But now with Vukavu, we can do that, and people can watch these films, renting by watching each film, and you're promoting the local independent Canadian film industry and supporting the artists who make these films, so we can continue with the work we're doing.
Yeah.
Great, thanks again, and I really look forward to watching these films again. People can watch them anytime. Just go to vukavu.com, and thanks for being here.
On the ice at Madison Square Garden, New York meets Montreal in the world's fastest game. Both teams pile on the pressure right from the start, and a neck-and-neck first period sees some remarkable saves from both goalies as the teams swing from end to end like a pendulum.
There's a campaign to scrap the MSP's fees with the upcoming May election. Eugene, you have an announcement.
I do. Artists Against Kinder Morgan, created by Renai Morso. It's to raise money to take Kinder Morgan to court. It's at the Russian Hall, 600 Campbell Avenue on March 18th from 7 to 11. The speakers will be Stuart Phillips, Reuben George, and Ian Campbell. The talent is McGurl and the Murray Porter Band. Please check out the Tsleil-Waututh Sacred Trust.
Awesome. I love all of those players, Reuben George, Ian Campbell, and way to go, Renai Morso. You know, it's been a great year. We've been covering the downtown east side vigilantly this year. I just wanted to update the people. You know that the VPD are now in their final phase of trying to sweep the fencers off the street. And on top of that, we also have the problem with the fentanyl crises. We have a young man, his name is Smokey D. He's a graffiti artist, and he is addressing the issues and the crises around fentanyl by painting the alleys red.
And I think that's it for the show. Don't
That's
forget
it.
to pick up the next issue of Megaphone magazine supporting our local grassroots media.
Yeah, look at leading man here coming all the way from downtown east side to Reverend Dwayne Howard.
Until next month, this is IMTIAZ POPAT.
GUANRGIE O'Sullivan.
Eugene Crane, this is Access Community Television.